Hi everyone, this is TED Talk from presentation about transphobia, which is also our assignment of political communication and public opinion. And we have three speakers to present. On February 24th, the Ukraine government banned all Ukrainian men from leaving the country. On March 3rd this year, two Ukrainian transgender women said that they could not leave Ukraine because their identity documents showed they were male. On March 9th this year, a transgender woman in Wuhan was killed by a man from entering the men's bathroom. On December 22 last year, Shan Chunqing, a transgender female who graduated from Zhejiang University and led a supercomputing team that broke the world record, posted a statement on Weibo. She said her father, who saw her as a disgrace, wanted here someone to murder her and faked her suicide because of depression. Every day after that, she posts a screenshot of a photo, and the full photo will be posted the next day to let everyone know that she is still safe. We can see that all forms of transphobia are still everywhere nowadays. Between 2008 and 2018, 2,982 transgender and gender-diverse people were murdered in 72 countries. Violence against trans and gender-diverse people often overlaps with other oppressive factors prevalent in society, such as racism, sexism, and so on. In addition to this direct and explicit form of violence, violence in health and education also persists. The inability and lack of interest in understanding the existence of trans people and their complications means that the process of being excluded from school and medical institutions limits their life possibilities. 58% of transgender men and 64% of transgender women were denied service after revealing their gender identity. In China, the unemployment risk faced by transgender people is about 3 times that the general population, and 24% of the working environment is unfriendly to transgender people. 40% of transgender people do not choose to express their gender identity freely. The dropout rate of transgender people is high, and 70% of them suffer from school violence. Among transgender people who have complete genital reconstruction surgery, only 50% of them have changed their gender and name on their ID cards to choose they agree with. In China, nearly 90% of families cannot fully accept transgender children, and nearly 60% of transgender people do not have family support. More than 40% of transgender people did not seek any help after experiencing family violence. Some transgender people are sent to hospitals or other institutions for correctional treatment by their families.
Transphobia shows no sense of racing. However, the popularity of cancel culture complex the situation. Cancel culture, or call-out culture, is a blanket term used to refer to a modern form of ostracism in which someone is thrust out of social or professional circles, whether it be online, on social media, or in person. Cancel culture is a practice or tendency of engaging in mass canceling as a way of expressing disapproval and exerting social pressure. The notion of cancel culture is a variant of the term call-out culture and constitutes a form of boycotting or shunning involving an individual, often a celebrity, who is deemed to have acted or spoken in an unacceptable manner. The cancellation debate heated up last summer after Twitter users took to the digital platform to condemn Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling for comments she made about the trans community. Is Rowling transphobic? Let's see what she said exactly. In June 2020, Rowling expressed her disapproval of the term people who menstruate. This term is used by many to include trans men who have not undergone full transition in conversations about menstrual or gynecological health. That initial tweet garnered a lot of backlashes, but Rowling did not relent and wrote about her views in more details. If sex isn't real, there is no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is engrossed. I knew and loved trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives, she tweeted. We've been specific to trans people for decades because they are valuable in the same way as women. For example, to male violence. Hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived consequences is a nonsense. She continued, I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it's hateful to say that. According to Rowling's criticals, her refusal to accept self-identification as a valid requirement for gender identity and seeing womanhood as something that is only biologically determined makes the best-selling author transphobic. Her supporters argue that discrediting the importance of biological sex might endanger women and is not practical for legal or safety purposes. And her stance has caused fans and stars like Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Warner Bros., which produced the HP films, to speak out against her. And Rowling was unable to attend the reunion for the 20th anniversary of the Harry Potter film series earlier this year. Celebrities who have connections with Rowling will be asked to take sides. Even Stephen King had to ask to responsible to Rowling's statement. No one wants to discuss the specific plight of trans people and women, as if just say trans women are women and everything will be okay. Rowling has been receiving death threats since then, while numerous fans and trans people feel hurt. No one wins in this controversy. Some people don't think Rowling is transphobic, some do. But in the cancel culture, transphobia has become a weapon of hate. Instead of caring about the transgender community and animating transphobia, people's attention has focused on shouting slogans and taking sides. We may not agree with each other, but we need to reach an agreement. The most important thing is to build a consensus truth, not to attack each other. Minorities that were supposed to work together for rights are now hurting each other in the name of justice. Women have been through such hell over history. Trans people have been invisible too. We should stop the idea we are fighting between ourselves, but it's not going to be solved with the wave of a wand.
In history, both people of color and homosexuals have been wiped out, as we all know. At different times, different groups of people will be shaped as center of political correctness, and even within 100 years, they will be complete opposite. We can see that in this process, people with transphobia are unknowingly shaped into some kind of normal or mainstream in these bands and movement, and internalize these standards to demand and judge others. This is an overkill and a bullying of all citizens. This widens the distance between sexual minorities and others in communication and mutual understanding, making trans groups more special and more difficult to live the equal lives they want. Just as the first speaker said, LGBTQ or some other sexual minorities, access to housing, access to economic opportunities, and being able to live without the threat of violence have never been taken seriously by the majority or across much of the country. Transgender people are more than 4 times as likely to experience violence as cisgender people, according to a new study that released by UCLA in 2019. Transphobia remains a social problem, just as what has mentioned above. crimes against transgender people are not decreasing but increasing. I was horrified when I browsed the details of these cases. We need to realize that they are human beings too, not to consider whether they are male or female in the first place. These victims, like all of us, may be partners, parents, children, friends, and community members. They work or go to school. They are real people who, just like us, people whose lives should not be taken away. So we need to think, do these contradictions and quarrels really improve the living conditions of transgender groups? Is the purpose of the movement to benefit those businessmen in the name of equal rights for sexual minorities, or to strengthen exchanges between minorities and others? The source of the fear and rejection is ignorance and mistrust, just as the calling forth said in The Single Man. When the minority is seen as a whole, when it poses a threat to the majority, when it is a real or false threat, heightening it is fear. Fear is why minorities are persecuted and made worse. Humans are afraid of things they don't understand, just like people who are not afraid of the women who are born, but men who behave like a woman. So, in the summary, what kind of world do we want? Different people come from different backgrounds, having different skin colors, having different attitudes and choices, identify with different genders, and live different lives. However, if there is a space and opportunity for them to understand and communicate with each other and understand each other, fear and exclusion can be gradually eliminated. Thank you for listening.